We will get started. At this point, we'll have roll call. Roll call, please.
Tom Bartlesmeyer. Dave Elliott.
Here.
Jim Fewens. Kirk Hart.
Here.
Brian Holt.
Here.
Robert Nelson.
Here. I report that for a movement. Stand and have pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Republic stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. This point calls for comments from the chair. I wish everyone. I wish you had had a good week. For those of you who were able to get away. Those of you who had to stay around, you had a good week also. All right. But it is good, and I know that some of the folks had to be here for some of the activities that occurred, and so this is a college and it moves on, and the only way it moves on is people, and people have to do it. So glad that you're here. There was a comments from the chair. We have comments from the public. I believe we have one person on our list for comments. It's Mr. Yates.
Ladies and gentlemen, executives of Fscc Community College campus, along with presidents and everything, how are you guys doing that?
Good.
Cool. All right, amazing. My name is Marquis. You guys have probably seen me wandering around this campus, you know, from time to time, you know, just not a familiar face, you know, just but this is just a comment saying we should consider, think about the students' feelings and, you know, everyone else and how they will feel about bringing back football to this program and to this campus. We have, I know you guys get this, trust me, I know you guys get this a lot, but at the same time, it's gotta take it from a student's perspective and think about how much we would love to see football going throughout this campus, along with probably you guys. Think about it. I know you guys miss, you know, going out there, probably like your families and everything, just, you know, watching, you know, people go at it. At the end of the day, you go home, either your team win or loses, but at the end of the day, you're just glad you had fun. And that's just that at the end of the day, you know, even though it's mainly us getting hurt down there, you guys just watch it and everything, but you know, you enjoy doing it though. It's like, you know, who here the Chiefs fan, basically. And you guys like watching that, don't you? So exactly, think about how much of a thrill it is for us. And like, you know, I came here with an intention of just saying, you know what, let's try to, you know, play football here and everything, but then it got shut down and like, it sucks, you know, it sucks and everything, but at the same time, with what I'm thinking about right now, if you guys feel obligated, just say, hey, look, take into consideration that we should, you know, make these boys try to lace up the cleats again, you know, put the pads back on, just say this would be a great opportunity again. I know you guys are dealing with some things here and everything like that, you know, we're a small community college. I get it, we're in a small part of Kansas, not really mad at it, but small part of Kansas, I think we should consider, you know, as a campus, as a college, as a community as a whole, getting those boys, including myself, back on the field and just give you guys a show and just making sure, hey, this is what we want to do. And like, think about all the student excitement and think about everyone else of the whole, like, Fscc, you know, community and how they would feel about it. And it's just so they opportunity for everyone, like, you know, we got basketball, we got baseball, we got everything. We have golf, for Christ's sake, people. How many of you guys are going to a golf game? It got really silent in this room, so exactly, ladies and gentlemen. So right now, that is just that, and I hope you guys consider it. And yeah, that's just that, I'm pretty sure it's faster than this, but yeah.
All right, thank you for your comments. Yeah, at this point, we have a.
I need to make a motion at this point to amend our agenda.
Okay,
For the evening. So I'm going to move that we amend the agenda by adding consideration of Bourbon County Neighborhood Revitalization Plan as the first item under action discussion, which would make it, I think, like A1 or something like that. And so we can discuss that.
motion has been made, is there?
I'll second that.
Second, maybe seconded, or any further discussion? No discussion, we'll call for the vote. to Amendment. Agenda.
Elliott,
Yes.
Fewens, Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes,
Bartlesmeyer.
he's in. Motion has been made, seconded, and so be it, and. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
Their discussion. Call for a vote.
Bartlesmeyer, Elliott,
Yes.
Fewens, Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes. Okay. We move. We'll approve the agenda. Approve minutes of the previous meetings. Attached are the minutes of the regular board meeting conducted on February 20, 2023. C, approval of the treasury reports, bills and claims. Attached are the treasurer's reports and the bills and claims report. Item B, approval of personnel action. Additions, Lawrence offered technical director, theater manager, effective March 21, sorry, of 2023. Jesse Carr, trio database, social media manager, effective April 10, 2023. Item C, Amy Young, CTEC administrative assistant, effective April 3rd, 2023. Separations, Kaylina Anderson, women's head basketball coach, effective March 7, 2023. Item E, approval of graduation honorees. Greg King, outstanding alumni. Bill Rhodes, honorary associate degree. It is recommended that the consent agenda be items be approved as presented and amended. I guess that's what we have there. Is there a motion?
So moved. We'll second that.
Is there any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Fewens, Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yeah.
Bartlesmeyer, Elliott,
Yes.
Okay, action item A, is that where we are?
A1. Yes.
A1. Wow, all right. We'll do that while I'm, let me share that.
sorry.
Okay, so at this point,
You're doing great, though.
let's see, I think it's consideration of Bourbon County Neighborhood Revitalization Plan, is that correct? And,
Mr. Harris.
Mr. Harrington, I think is here for that.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Madam President. For us, the board, I'm here on behalf of Mr. Quick to present to you the Bourbon County Neighborhood Revitalization Plan for your approval. As I did maybe a year ago, I was here for the city's NRP or Neighborhood Revitalization Plan. A couple changes, the county has to re-up theirs. It happens every 5 years. And so just like with the cities, the counties have now ready to be redone. This program has been a very successful program here, or is becoming a very successful program, I should say, instead of the county, because we're starting to market this program and really get it out that we have this program for housing, commercial development as well, and industrial. Couple of the changes that I see in this in this new resolution would be if you turn to page 2, section 6, under B, residential property, number 4, the term of the tax rebate will be 10 years for residential property. Currently, it's 5 years. In the city of Fort Scott and in the county. The county is asking that you approve and cooperate with them in turning this to a 10-year plan instead of a 5-year. This will just be, and I made you move forward, but if you could see in number 1 on the first page under legal description, this will exclude the property within the city of Fort Scott. So this extension to 10 years will only be outside the city of Fort Scott. However, I will say that the city has expressed, and I believe does intend to expand theirs to 10 years after the county is finished as well, because it's much more better program, and we believe it will be much more successful in attracting development to Bourbon County and the city of Fort Scott. So that changed from the other one. Also, if you go down to number 7, letter B, currently the resolution states that you have to make a 15% improvement. So if you were to currently have a home and you were to do currently in its place a 15% improvement to your home on the assessed value, so 15% of your assessed value increases, that you would be eligible for this. This changes that to a minimum of $5,000. So it puts an actual price number on that for residential and agriculture, and $15,000 for commercial. So now if a business reaches the $15,000 limit, so they come in and do at least a $15,000 improvement to their business, their building, they would be eligible for the neighborhood revitalization program. And if a home was to come and make a $5,000 improvement, they would also be eligible. The only things that aren't eligible for instance, agricultural properties, which I don't know if this piece is in the cities or not, but obviously has to be in the counties. Hay barns and grain bins. It says gain bins, but I'm sure it means grain bins. Do not qualify for this program. New construction and any structure used for agricultural purposes does. The term date will be for 10 years for agricultural property that qualifies. So again, they're changing that from 5 to 10 years. So other than that, I don't see very many, and I'm just glancing through this, but I don't see very many changes from the one you currently already agreed to, or I did agree to 5 years ago and are participating in. The caveat is that any interlocal agreement such as this needs to be approved by the Attorney General of Kansas. And so after approval by all entities, and this is submitted to the Attorney General, they have 90 days to submit back whether or not that he approves or not approves. And at the end of 90 days, if we haven't heard anything, then it's automatically approved, which I'm sure you're aware of. So I know Mr. Quick, I think tonight he's in Uniontown, I believe, because they're meeting was at the same time, either the school or the city of presenting this as well. And he will go to Bronson, all the cities as well as the school districts to present this. And hopefully at the end, we have everybody agreed to, and we'll move forward with submitting this to the Attorney General. Obviously, none of these will take effect till January 1 of 2024. So you will not see any of these new costs or new tax abatements until people do their taxes in 2024. So the 2023 taxes that are filed in 2024 will be when these take effect. So are there any other questions for me?
Any questions from the board?
And maybe I should touch base a little bit. This NRP is a 95% tax abatement. So what the individual that applies for this would do is say I was to buy a piece of land and build a new house. A piece of land, and this is, I know these aren't correct numbers, but for all intents and purposes, my taxes on the bare piece of land was $1,000, right? I build a home and my taxes increase to $2,000 a year. I pay the $2,000 every year to the county. The county writes me back a check for $995 for the next 10 years. That's how that works. So the only difference between the counties and the cities is the city does have a historical district one that's 15. And as of right now, residential is 5, but I'm sure, almost certain that will change because the city would like to do the 10 years as well. Any questions?
Any questions? You made your presentation on background, so recommended that the board approve the neighborhood revitalization plan with River County.
Do we have Rob, maybe you have this, do we have an estimate of like what this?
We
Yeah,
don't,
it's hard to do that, but
yeah,
historical numbers on what we've,
well, we tried to discern some of that. It's not a whole lot. Julie, what did we say last year? We thought we may have come up with.
I don't know, I'm more familiar with the city than I am the county.
Yeah.
That's the top of my head.
It's an excellent question, Brian. We don't, I think.
It's never been really truly used, so
Yeah.
it's hard to pinpoint what it could be. Because I don't think, I know that the city, there's been a few, but I know that this year in the city, Matt said that he had, I want to say, and I could be wrong, 40 applications this year in the city for NRP, and the year before maybe had 3. So
Wow.
It's a huge increase because people didn't know this even existed for the longest time, except a few. So nobody really was taking advantage of the.
We had we had one before with the county. Difference really is that the minimum is different, and of course, we went from 5 to 10 years.
Yep.
I don't, I've never really seen a breakdown of exactly what it is, so.
And I never have either, to be honest with you. So, and I just think historically, it's never been properly used or really marketed at that. So in my opinion, next year, we would have better numbers to, at least on the city's side, we'll be able to have a little bit better indication exactly how much that. And I know that doesn't help you today,
no,
but I think it's such a small sample, it wouldn't be correct.
In the past, we've gotten projections from the city.
Right now,
They will
we
project
show 44,000 for revitalization rebate
from the city.
It's this Bourbon
It's in Bourbon
County.
County, so okay.
But yeah, we have rebates of 44,000.
The majority of your rebates are gonna come from the city of Fort Scott.
Yeah.
If we're not gonna have a ton, I think, in the rest of the county.
Yeah, we may get the check from from Bourbon County, but it's actually a city-owned property. I don't know that we've had much in Bourbon.
The county itself.
County
Yeah,
itself.
Sure, yes, agree.
I move we approve it.
I'll second it. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer, Elliott,
Yes.
Evans, Art.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
And if you would, just let Mr. Quick know that I made such a just riveting argument and knocked you out of your seats and tell him that way I can maybe he'll
We'll
give me
make
a
it
check.
bigger. Yeah, maybe you'll get it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, I don't want to do it all. You can do it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So we're on page 15. Approval, approval of property disposal copiers. Background, disposal of college homes. Supplies. Require the approval of the Fort Scott Community College Board of Trustees. Fort Scott Community College owns 2 Canon copiers that are no longer functional and cannot be repaired due to the availability of parts. We are requesting approval to dispose of these copiers through Lakeland Office Systems, the servicing company and the selling vendor. So, yeah.
I have a correction with that. There's actually 3 of them here. So
There's 3, yes. And
so we typically dispose of any property that has come off lease if it becomes FSCC's property. In this case, these 3 copiers were at least to own agreement with Lakeland, and they have now become our responsibility. And so all 3 of them can no longer be used due to parts availability problems, such as critical parts can't be acquired to repair it. And so then we have to pivot, we have to get new equipment. And so all 3 of these copiers have been replaced. We just now need approval to dispose of them.
Jason, you have to do anything with the internal drives on these? I mean, do they have some sort of imaging on them or?
Some of these copiers do have hard drives or storage. Most of them don't retain actual copy material.
Okay.
They retain numbers of transactions.
I got you.
Department IDs and things like that. We don't have any that I'm aware of right now that actually retain, unless you specifically say, store this on the hard drive.
Mhm.
They don't retain any information like that. But that's a good question. I don't know what Lakeland's policy is actually on how to dispose of those hard drive. So I'm gonna find out now.
Okay. I don't know that it's a big deal, but we get asked that at the bank sometimes by examiners and such, so they want to see how it's disposed of.
Our other property and things, we are rigorous about hard drive and data disposal.
Yep.
So, which is our next item that we're gonna talk about, and I can cover the R2 side of that. But
Is there a cost involved with the disposal?
no,
I move we approve.
Second.
been moved and seconded. Any other questions or comments? We recommend that the board approve the disposal of the specific copies specified.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer, Elliott,
Yes.
Evans, Art.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Item B, approval of property disposal, waste. Background, disposal of college owned supplies. This requires the approval of the Fort Scott Community College Board of Trustees. Fort Scott Community College has a large number of off-lease computer towers, monitors, keyboard, mice, phones, projectors, and printers. The inventory of these items can be found in the following pages. And I'm glad that Jason's here because I don't plan to read all those.
Oh, come on.
so we're actually using a new system to inventory this stuff now. It's based on SharePoint, which is what a lot of departments are using now, like Julie's using it for her budget. We're using SharePoint to inventory assets. We're also using it to inventory e-waste or disposal assets too. So it's actually become really easy to do a report like this and have it be accurate. So it's in a matter of 45 minutes. As we inventory items, we put them in a Gaylord. And at the period in which we're going to bring the e-waste to the board, like we're doing today, I can just select which items I want to sort by and print the sheet out, and here we are. So there's a lot of stuff in here. Like he said, he doesn't really want to repeat it all, but most of it is just damaged technology that's no longer functional. Computers that are no longer usable, for example, no longer compatible with Windows 10. And so for security reasons, they're kind of a liability. So we just use an R2 certified e-waste company like American Recycling out of Nebraska. We get approval from you to have them pick it up. I schedule them to come pick it up. They come in with a truck. They wheel the Gaylord with the contents of the box onto the truck. They give us new Gaylords. And then we just rinse and repeat and do this at least once, maybe twice a year. So. Any other questions? And it usually does not cost us anything. And if it does cost because of such as printers or large format displays, those are the things that cost. It's usually less than $200 total if we have to pay them to dispose of it. But most of the time, the other items offset the cost, and we usually get a $0 invoice. So.
All right. It is recommended that the board approve the disposal of broken, damaged, non-functional and or obsolete equipment with and R2 certified e-waste disposal companies such as American Recycling.
So moved.
Second.
Back, okay. Further discussion. Okay, call for the vote.
Hewens, Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer, Elliott,
Yes.
Item C.
You're busy this evening.
Jason's always busy.
That items because I knew I was gonna work this one.
Well done.
Okay, consideration of CAN-REN access circuit renewal. Multi-year renewal. Background, CAN-REN, Kansas Research and Education Network Incorporated, provides access to the statewide network for data communication for nonprofit organizations, education institutions, and public organizations that serve public interest. Currently, CAN-REN provides backbone network access for our main campus located here in Fort Scott, the Harley-Davidson campus located in Frontenac, and to the Miami County campus located in Paola County. Goes on to say Fort Scott Community College has been a subscriber of CAN-REN network services for many years, and we would like to maintain that partnership by renewing these contracts for their minimum term periods. The service addendums are provided for each location.
So essentially, CAN-REN provides us the backbone access. They typically don't own the actual infrastructure or physical plant between buildings. They usually acquire that from a local company like CropCan, AT&T, or the Kansas Fiber Network. And so they essentially lease that physical plant, and then we utilize that physical plant for our network services. So I will say that usually cost is gonna be a little higher when you do it that way. But Canron has been a great help to us as an institution. They have bailed us out on issues and problems that we've had in the past that we couldn't figure out. They have an excellent talent pool to reach out to. And they're even quite honest to a certain extent on some things. So even when they make a mistake. So they provide our IP addresses, all of our IPv4 IP addresses and our IPv6 IP addresses, which can be costly if you went with somebody else. So that's why we are recommending you maintain that partnership. So there's a lot of benefits to them that I see.
Jason, can I just say
Yeah.
one thing? You know, typically we would have just put this on a renewal and I would have signed it. However, we just discovered, we should have known this before, but Zach was telling me he had gone, Zach Reynolds, of course, our attorney, had gone to a conference for community colleges, and he said, you really cannot designate budget funds out past 1 year without approval, or you have to put at the bottom of that you are basically aware of the state statute, but you're waiving the statute. So that's the reason that on this particular one, I would have typically just signed off on it, but it needs to come to the board. What we will do from now on out is, you may recall that typically in May, I think, is that right, Julie? We bring you like a whole list of things that we basically subscribe to or have to pay a continuing contract on each year. So we will do that, and at the bottom, we will put the statutory language that says that if these contracts move over a budget year, that we are waiving this idea that the board needs to sign it, that I as president can sign off on those. But we'll bring you that, and so you will have prior approval. It's just that we will add these, you know, anything like that, we'll add to the list. The list is pretty long.
Yeah.
So, and in a lot of ways, it's beneficial, so we don't accidentally miss something that typically, you know, we miss putting that in the budget. Like last year, we accidentally missed some renewal. I can't remember what it was that we forgot about, you know, didn't get that one in the budget. I mean, it wasn't that much money, but, and so we covered it. But we just need to make sure before we budget that, of course, all these, you know, things that are ongoing expenses and costs are in there. So that's the reason that you're seeing this, and you might wonder to yourself why you hadn't seen it previously. So.
Yeah, I have a number of them for IT that are in the same boat.
Oh, yeah. So they're providing some level of technical support
Mhm.
too. Okay.
Yes. They offer, in terms of network security.
Yep.
They're a first responder on the network security side. They notified us of issues of abnormal network traffic coming in and out
Mhm.
of main campus.
Mhm.
So yeah, they're integral to that.
Good. The cost, is it the same as it was, or has it gone up? I would assume it's
A couple of these actually have gone down.
Oh,
So our in-campus circuit has gone down. Our Harley circuit, I believe, has gone down as well, but it's the Miami County one that has gone up. And it's due to the competitive nature of the fiber networks that are there. You have AT&T and you have the Kansas Fiber Network. With this addendum is for the Kansas Fiber Network.
Mhm.
We've had AT&T for a number of years, but whenever we have an outage up there, which is about once every month or once every other month, it's AT&T's fault.
okay.
And so
Yeah.
we're going with the Kansas Fiber Network.
There's also, I might add, and Julie can speak to this much better than I can, there is a federal rebate that we apply for. I say we, CanRen applies for us, that if you use your network for health-related fields in education, so of course, nursing and, you know, CNA, that we get a rebate. And so CanRen takes care of that for us through a third party. company,
Arkansas.
the University of Arkansas. It's kind of a convoluted situation. Nonetheless, we will get a rebate of approximately, not quite half.
65%,
Oh, so it is a little more than half?
with,
You showed me that. So we will get, of the total here, we will get at least a little more than half back as a rebate, and they do all the paperwork. It's some sort of federal, rebate program, so. So it's not quite as much as it looks like if you take that into
I'm
consideration.
shocked that a federal program will be convoluted.
Are you now?
No, I'm.
So two of these contracts are like 36 months and the other ones.
Yeah, Jason, I
I
talked
did ask
about
that
that.
question of the why there's a discrepancy between 36 months and 60 months, and the answer that I got was those two. Kansas Fiber Network and AT&T insisted on 60-month contracts, or the price would go up substantially.
Hmm.
So
We weren't all that happy with that 60-month thing, but.
But
So even though Jason had told me about it, I kept asking him about it. Driving me crazy, so.
in spite of that, then it is recommended that the administration of the administration to approve the renewal contract for all sites listed above for their respective term periods.
I want to just make one more comment, and I'm making an assumption. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if Jason were to have to hire people to do what these guys are doing, it'd be far more expensive.
Exactly.
That's what we based it on.
Yeah, okay,
yes,
that's
If
been,
we had to have one more IT guy, it'd cost at least 55, 60.
Right.
At least,
yeah,
so we figure that. It's interesting, yeah, so that's
Yeah,
the
it's a
first
very
question I
good
asked.
I
Jason.
just wanted to point that out, because if you were to look at this and just say, well, you're getting internet access, and that seems like a lot of money, but it's more than that, so.
Does that comment come with a motion?
Yes, I move we approve.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Being no further discussion?
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Stevens. Elliott,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer.
Thank you. So item D. Consideration of public notice publication for 902 South Horton property. Background, Fort Scott Community College and Community Health Center entered into an intent to sell the building located at 902 South Horton on February 7, 2022. This building will be used to house Fort Scott Community College's nursing and allied health classes. Details of the agreement are below. Okay,
This is me.
that's you. All right.
So you'll recall that last year, I believe in February, we signed a letter of intent with CHC to purchase the Horton building. And they, of course, I think they're in the process of moving down to their restructured or repurposed building at the old Price Choppers. Now, this is a mistake by me. I thought that we could just run the contract. Julie and I met with the CHC attorney in January, and he had a contract for us, which was what we said it was. They're carrying the note, as we say, at 2.5% for 10 years. So it's very much like a lease purchase agreement. But when I showed the contract to Zach, he's like, no, you cannot do that. I don't care what you've done previously. You can't do that because, again, statutorily, you cannot budget money in future budget years without prior approval of the board and the public. So you'll remember that before, like if we were going out for a certificate of participation, a COPS, we have to have a resolution that we have to publish, which we publish in the Tribune, which is our official newspaper. So we have to publish that resolution That resolution has to be out there for 10 days. And then, is that right? We have 30 days for the public to have an opportunity to protest that. Now, because of that time frame, we won't be able to approve a contract with CHC until May, because that deadline pushes us past the April board meeting. Now, that all being said, the earliest then probably that we would be able to move into the Horton building after it's repurposed would be January of 2024. But Jordan assured me, Jordan Howard, who is the director of nursing, that that would work. You may also recall that the repurposing of the building is done with a generous donation from the Snyder family that has been with the foundation for quite some time. I honestly don't know what you moved the money. I got worried last semester about us losing money because of the market. And I believe at that time, Tom, you might speak to this, you moved the money out so we would know that we would have a certain amount of money.
Correct,
To
we
do
did that with
repurposing.
the Bailey money
in
for
the-
that renovation and also this money with the Snyder as well. Just to kind of protect it from the loss of the stock market while also
Stuck it in a little CD.
yeah, while also getting a small gain on it, so.
And because of the time frame of this, and like I said, my mistake, I thought we could approve it in January. We may have to we may want to put it back into a CD. That's a little bit, off the subject of what we're talking about here, but just saying, we may, decide to put that back in. We don't want it to just sit there and not draw anything. So anyway, that's the story on this. And so what we're really asking for is approval to publish the resolution, which gives the details. And if you approve that tonight, then it will be published, tell me, Julie, in next Saturday and the following Wednesday, I believe.
Yes.
I believe that's right. But I'd be happy to answer questions like this.
So the recommendation, administration recommends the board approve the public notice publication. That's what we've been doing at this time.
So after this notification, we're gonna vote at some point to approve the contract or?
Yes,
Okay,
but first, it won't be till
gotcha,
May,
gotcha. Okay,
because once we let this set for 10 days and then give 30 days for possible protest, then that pushes us past April. We can have a special board meeting, but it only saves us a couple weeks and it's too much for you guys that are very busy. So I just said, we'll just wait till May. Even though, like I said, it does push us back in terms of being able to repurpose the building. So, it's my fault.
I think it'd be worth mentioning just kind of as a revisit of this whole process, because I had people that have made comments to me about the fact that, we're paying $480,000 to CHC who got the building for free. And I'm like, well, I agree, but what are you going to do about it?
They did.
We have to do something. We either have
Yes.
to do something with the existing building, which would
Right,
be far more expensive
yeah.
than what this would.
Yes, and just the
Okay.
cost of operations, the overhead of the other building, it's actually cheaper to go this way. You might recall too, we will retain the VA lease
Yeah.
down there, which
Yeah.
we do need to talk to them about maybe a renegotiation. They are pretty proprietary, and so we have had the architects look at the building to make sure that we are separating our students from any sort of VA patients. We will have, the entrance will be in the back for nursing. We will have to have an ADA entrance in the front, but that would only be, of course, if needed. And so that, so you are correct. They did have to give them to them and we are paying for it. I was hopeful in the beginning they were gonna give it to us. But I think they needed, they need the money, obviously for their repurposing of the Price Shoppers building. So, yeah. And we had to let ASIN, which is our national accreditor, and also the Kansas Board of Nursing know that we are working on a plan to either completely redo or, to revamp something, because right now the building doesn't meet the accreditation codes that we need it to meet down there. Yeah. And then we'll have to decide, the board will have to decide what to do with that building. Yeah.
I have some.
We'll give it to Jason.
Very interesting.
As I recall, the other kind of reason, or maybe more important reason, was having some access to instructors or something.
One of the things that's in the contract with CHC is that they have when they repurpose down there, they provided a space where we can offer some classes, and that way we can utilize their nursing staff to be clinical instructors and that kind of thing. We have always had some clinical agreements. The trouble is, if you just have one student at a clinical site, you can't afford to pay, a nurse at that clinical site. And so now that will alleviate that issue. So we can have them down there, the classrooms down there, and they can do some of their clinicals down there. So we feel like it's a good collaboration. Now, it hasn't been implemented yet. We'll,
Right.
The devil's in the details, but we're hopeful. And it is in the contract.
That's what I was wondering. I wanted to kind of
Yeah, I forgot about that part. Thank you.
mention that. I mean, because
Yeah.
when people look at what we're doing, I think it helps to give
Yeah.
some of that context of how
Yeah,
important it is. So.
I appreciate that.
All right.
I move we approve the public notice.
So a second.
So my turn. Second.
Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Bartlesmeyer, Hewens, Elliott,
Yes.
Hart.
Yeah.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes. Page. Oops. Oh, got it. Development. Consideration of agreement between Fort Scott Community College and Institute for the Development of Educational Advancement. Idea, okay. Background. Following an agreement between Fort Scott Community College and the Institute for the Development of Education Advancement, the agreement defines each party's understanding regarding the application for and administration of grant, program, or activity funds from various entities, and to memorialize their understanding. Okay,
This is me too.
that's you. All right.
We thought that it was really important. The idea, of course, is the Institute for the Development of Educational Advancement. That is basically the umbrella that we have put our migrant grants underneath. We didn't want to call it just migrant grants because we hope there's an opportunity for other federal grants that would come under this umbrella. But basically, it puts it in its own silo so we can better manage it both physically, and also we believe that it is an opportunity that when we are applying for some of these grants, that we can show definitively exactly what the Institute does, and then better prepare us to compete for these very competitive federal grants, which in the past, the folks here have done an absolutely amazing job at. And as you have seen, We have quite a bit of, federal grant money coming in here. It actually amounts to about 10% of our total budget. And so we're just trying to make sure that we shore up that revenue stream and that we can keep it. With that, though, I can tell you that it wasn't without a whole lot of work on Zach's part, Janet's part, Julie's part, my part to try to, for me to draw out kind of how we're going to move the money back and forth, because it still has to benefit Fort Scott Community College. And so the agreement is just like it says, to memorialize how we're going to do this so we can, so moving forward, it's kind of a thing about succession. So, sometimes we're not very good with succession around here. How is this done? How do we do it? What are the nuts and bolts of how we get this done? If people leave and change, we wanted to make sure that we have that. We have some things that are a bit like this, of course, when you look at CTEC, which is a different organization, when you look at the Gordon Parks, which is a different organization, when you look at the foundation, but this, like we said, just tells you how we're going to move basically the money back and forth. So I would be happy to answer questions about it.
I would just like to mention that this is a great opportunity to further compete for more grant money that actually is just going to add funds to the community colleges. But
We're very hopeful that will. I think it will.
I think it's a great opportunity for that to happen.
Thanks, Dave.
Any other question?
Who is idea? I'm sorry.
It's just this Institute for Development of Educational Advancement, and Janet will be its executive director, Janet Bantry.
Right, okay. That's what I thought.
And she is just, she's a contract, so she's a contract individual,
Right.
not an employee, just an individual, so. She will, she will provide us with a W-9, and we provide her with a 1099.
Okay.
Any other questions? It is recommended that the board approve the agreement with IDEA. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Hart,
Yes.
Holder,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Hewens, Bartlesville.
Item F. Consideration of Arnold Arena gym floor bids. Background.
You'll introduce Mitch first, or you'll do those first.
Do that first.
Sure, I think that would work.
Yeah, so I'm.
All right, well. There's Mitch McDonald, he's our new women's basketball coach, head women's basketball coach. He's done a great job so far. He's gotten, 2 Fort Scott girls potentially coming, they're coming on visits this week. We talked to people from all over Kansas, all over Missouri, Denver, Arizona, Hawaii. Kind of everywhere. He's following my plan. I got guys from baseball from Hawaii, so yeah, one that's still playing in the pros. So but yeah, he's done a great job. I just wanted to introduce him. He's gonna tell you about himself.
Well, all right, I'm from San Antonio, Texas, and I am more than blessed and very excited to take over the women's position. It's a tremendous opportunity for me, and I'm gonna do everything I can in my power to make sure this program goes in the right direction for everyone involved. I'm really big on academics. I want to make sure everyone in the program is doing right in the classroom and making sure they graduate from here, ready to go on to the higher level. I'm huge on human development. I love basketball. Basketball is my life. I want my girls to love basketball, but I want them to be better humans. That's what I'm about. In terms of the Fort Scott girls, they're coming on visits this week, so I'm super excited about that. Talking to a girl from Frontenac as well, St. Louis, Texas, Arizona. Talked to a girl from Hawaii. It was funny. her mom called me the other day and she was like, aloha, and I was like, oh wow, this is weird. It's been good, been about, what, 5 days now? And I have about 5 offers out, so we're getting things rolling, we're super excited at the direction I think this program can go. I know there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of opportunity to bring in girls who can really have a positive impact on the campus, so just really excited to get rolling with that. But I'm married, my wife's name is Talia, and she's my whole life. We were high school sweethearts, been with her since I was 14, so
Right.
I'm really big on family, really, she's super involved with campus as well. This year on the men's side, she's been super involved, come to every home game. All events, when we go to fundraising events, she comes with us as well and gets to be a part of that. Really big family and her people person, so just really excited to be here and really excited about the opportunity.
Thank you. Mitch has been one of the assistant men's coaches. This year.
How does Coach Cochran feel about it?
You know what? So I've known Coach Cochran since 2017. So a little bit about my background, I guess. I played Division I basketball at Long Island University in Brooklyn. Played there my first 2 years before transferring to Southwestern Assemblies of God back in Waxahachie. Coach Cochran happened to be there when I was there. And so I actually got to sit on, when I was on the bench, I sat next to him, we talked and we discussed basketball after games. When he had to do some extra stuff around campus, I was always there to help him out. We developed a relationship that way. And once he got the job last year, I was the head assistant at Temple College the previous 2 years before this year. And so when that came out and he got the job here, it was a no-brainer to come to Fort Scott, and I've loved everything about it. So it's been a blessing to me. He's been a huge blessing to me as well. So he was excited.
Good.
Short answer.
He says that to your face.
Yeah, that's permission before we gave him the offer to make sure it was
Take
okay.
it.
Smart.
But yeah, I asked him. He was happy. All right, so I talked to you guys last meeting about the gym floor, about how the safety of our gym is kind of not there. With some of the holes in the floor and cracks in the floor and the ramp that we have and everything else. I got 3 different bids to go from wall to wall. I contacted 8, I think it was 8 or 9 companies to try to get the best bids we could. We got 3 that gave us bids, and 2 were like last minute, right at noon on the day it was due. Langford is the one I think we should go with, not just because it's the cheapest. He was there describing the floor, how they were going to do it, what kind of things they were going to do to put for the safety ramps and the ADA compliant. He actually knew a lot what he was doing. They've also done Missouri Southern's gym, K-State, whole bunch of rec departments as well, a bunch of high schools kind of all over the Kansas and Missouri side. They've done a great job on stuff, and basically and also I talked to them today, and usually they only give a 1-year warranty. They're going to give us a 3-year warranty if we decide to go with them. Everybody else is a 1-year warranty. There's a reference list of schools: K-State, Central Christian College, Pittsburgh High School, Shawnee Mission, Blue Valley Schools. They've kind of gone all over the place. The only real difference of the floors, they're all going to be the same qualifications. What we need is just basically different in price and warranty. Acme is a little bit more expensive, it's $201, but we still have to remove the floor ourselves and do some other things. I talked to Tom gave me the number to Brad from I forget what company it's called.
Heartland Seating.
Heartland, yeah, seating. They said they can come in, move the bleachers around. He's gonna get me a quote this week. That was the only thing I didn't have yet. But he said it's gonna be less than the 9,200 that Langford's gonna charge us if we do it.
Luke, you wanna just kind of quickly give an update on some of the things that we discussed today about your concerns about floor leveling?
Yeah,
And how we probably are not gonna go with two, but just with the sun.
yeah, so the floor leveling, if you see on the bottom of all of them. That is exclusions for everybody, and that made me a little nervous with. My concern was the leveling of the floor, but. We talked about it and we're just gonna go with the main floor. We're still gonna go wall to wall, but we're just not gonna paint the lines. We also talked about how if we try to do two volleyball courts side to side. We can't really because of the hoops. And the hoops are $25,000 to move, or not move, but get new ones and swing in a different way to get out of the way. Or about 5,000 to 6,000 for them to come down and move the pulleys. So it's just an added cost. With the amount of room we have, especially with how some of our girls fly around. If you guys have been to a volleyball game, they kind of go all out and sprint, and most likely they're going to hit the bleachers if they go too far going that way. It will give us more room, and it'll be safer. There'll be more room for like dribbling drills and pepper drills for volleyball because it will be floor to floor or wall to wall. But the big thing is the safety aspect. That metal ramp is very wet and people have fallen on it, and we don't want another lawsuit. So that's a
All right, you have to tell my.
that's a big thing. That's a big thing for me. I just safety. I've had one of Tyler's the assistant band basketball coaches. Grandma fell because it was wet. We helped her out. It was fine, no big deal, but we just want to make sure it's safe for everybody to come in. And ADA compliant. They said they're going to cut down the doors. They're going to put ramps in, everything else that's needed for the ADA compliant. So.
We have to meet some ADA, and if you've been in the gym, we have right now, I think it's a 12-inch and it's just awful.
It's
And
just
it's
straight up.
very difficult to even walk, behind, especially if you're over on, so the north side of it. And Luke, and I thought it was a really good point that Luke had today. We originally, when we took up the old floor, we did level the center where that center court is, but that we didn't realize we were gonna have to do that. And it was, if you remember, it was very costly. And then, we got into the whole mercury and asbestos thing. Well, when Luke went to do some measuring, it's pretty obvious that if you get away from that central floor that we would need leveling. So which means you have to either grind the floor down or add concrete back, which again, we would be adding a lot of cost. And so when Luke and I visited about it today, we felt like we can still go wall to wall with the wood, but we wouldn't. One of the reasons we wanted to do that originally was to give us these two ports, but when you really look at it, there's not enough two ports anyway, if we don't, like I said, change some of the bleacher functions or features, and then when we got to looking, which we talked a little bit about this morning, when I asked him to look and see what we'd really be talking about with the hoops and having to move them to the side, it was a lot more expensive, and so we want to go the wall to wall, however, it will just be the one court. And I believe you checked with our volleyball.
Yes, I checked with volleyball and she's fine with it. Also the wall to wall will actually let it less compressed, like it won't expand because we won't have that metal grate around it, and the AC will definitely help kind of climb up the floor as well. Langford was really happy we were getting AC, so it was happy when they came down.
And Luke is talking to some people about possible donations, as we talked about before.
Yeah, I have 2 to 3 private donations that potentially we could hopefully knock on wood get a lot of money from.
Well, what's the timeline?
Timeline, we need to have it done by August 1st.
Yes, right.
So it takes about 4 weeks to put in. By the time it's all said and done with the painting of the lines and everything else, that's what I was told, 4 to 5 weeks, but I'm gonna say 6 because we all know how construction projects work. But we would need to start sooner than later
And we need to get it scheduled. Scheduling it is.
because the high schools and everyone in the state of Kansas is gonna be redoing floors in the next 6 months. That's why I try to bring it to you all early so we can get it on the books for them.
Any problem with lead time with the materials?
No, they said everything was good. That's what they told me. But I can only trust somebody so much. But Langford, I thought was really good. He actually explained the whole process to me. He sat down and explained it. The other people just kind of came in, measured, and was like, this is what we're doing. But he actually walked around with our basketball coaches, with our volleyball coach as well, and explained every little detail and how they were going to do it. So I trust him to do it. Some of the other ones, not so much.
Any other questions? So this quote then would be recommending.
The what?
Yes,
Yeah, sorry, yes.
the length.
The Langford,
Yeah.
and for the addition, you can see there's alternatives down there. I don't think we need the Boston square pattern, for the floor. That's an extra $7,200. I wouldn't do that. Blake, would like to stain the free throw lanes to make it darker. So it would be a lighter floor because of how dark our gym is. So we're gonna try to get the most natural stain possible. And then stain the inside of the paint so it's a little darker, kind of like the contrast. If you've been watching some of the March Madness stuff, it just looks neat. And then he also wanted the painted border around it as well. So if you add that up, it's like 189,000 altogether.
Mitch is sitting back there like, doesn't matter what I want.
Yeah, well, I talked to him too. Sorry. He wasn't official yet when we were in the projects, so.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Question.
How do we, what's the budget impact? I mean, I know it's 189,000, but how do you?
Well, we'll plan on budgeting for it for July, so not this budget year.
Right.
It's not budgeted
Right.
this year.
Okay,
So it really depends on how much Luke tells me he can come up with.
gotcha.
I'm gonna do my best. I told President.
We have some
Warren,
very promising.
yeah, I think we could probably get a half, or I'm gonna be on the conservative side, half or more. Knock on wood, hopefully more with the potential people we have. I'm trying not to hurt the budget too much. I'm trying to do it ourselves, and we have a lot of connections with Mitch and Blake and Trish and Chelsea, and they're all gonna help out because they all use the floor. So we're all gonna do our best to put our thinking caps on with all.
I told Luke though, I mean, we wanna hopefully under promise and over deliver.
Yes.
But what we plan on doing is absorbing it in the budget. And we won't really know, we're beginning to work on budget. We're not really gonna know until we're just a little bit later. Down the road, but like you said, we've got to get it scheduled. So that's the reason we're asking you in advance, but. We really don't, we're not sure, but it's not like we're gonna go out for financing. It's gonna be.
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna do my best and work hard to get it done.
I know. We will. No doubt.
I mean, I agree with the edge is really awkward.
Yeah, and that was just, we didn't have any choice.
Right.
That's what the old one was too. It's
Yeah.
It's the 7.
But
That
this
was in
is
2010 when I was here.
I feel like I'm gonna slip.
And with people running off and volleyball and all that, it's just a hazard at this point.
Yeah,
And I know you mentioned last time there was some separation and you said something about. that.
Yeah, there's I could put a pen inside one of the gaps. There's some dead spots as well, but
But we don't feel like there's anything that we're gonna unearth. This go around.
Oh,
Oh, jeez.
That's what Tom thought. So.
Tom over there.
The perfect plan.
When you're working on the region, you have to expect it, and that's why when we were talking about it, I was like, you have to look at the leveling. They even underlined it here in the proposal about the leveling of it. And so I do agree with what we're going for with the one court, because if you're looking at saying that that whole court inside, the whole surface inside of Arnold Marina has to be level to an eighth of an inch, it's not. I can promise you that.
I think
When I was talking to Langford, he was saying that if the main court is level, so like the court that we have now.
Right.
He was like, this could be fine, but if you're just gonna use the other stuff for underneath the bleachers slash, some. Drills or whatever areas, no one's actually gonna be playing on it. So he's like, as long as this one is good, we're good. That's what he told me.
And that one will be, because we, well, not.
Yeah.
But we had to go through all that nightmare, because not only was the surface not level, but we also had to take the rubber flooring and dispose of it and then fill in that.
Right.
And so they came and did that the first time around. So theoretically, unless it isn't bubbling under there. And we don't know that until we.
I tell you, if we've got water under there now, that's what I said with the dry that we've had, we got some pretty darn severe issues over there.
Bigger
That's all yeah. Let's hope not. Kind of scares me.
That's probably scares me too. But I think it's worth it if we can do it.
I move we approve the line. Second. Further discussion? On the vote?
Hart.
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Stevens. Holt,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer.
Thank you.
Item D, discussion of graduation ceremony attendance. Background, graduation will be held on May 12th. The registrar's office requests advance notice of what board members plan to attend and will be present on stage so that it can be appear on the program. Ceremony times have been set as follows: 9 a.m. for the degrees listed and certificates, and 12 p.m. for science. Social arts.
Yeah, we really, as this states, we just need to know what board members plan to attend the ceremony, so we can make sure that there's space on the stage for everyone.
And we need to know for caps and gowns. So
I guess that's a Saturday.
it is a Saturday.
I plan to do.
Oh, it is May 12th, it's not May 13th.
May 12th is a Friday.
Oh, is it listed as May 12th on the board agenda? It's the 13th. It's May 13th.
I think it's.
So
Yeah, come on Friday.
You'll be sitting in your seat.
you'll be there in time for nurse cleaning if you come by. So yes, May
That'll be the only
13th.
date. I don't know why.
You'll be at both.
I'll be at both. Friday. I was planning on
I think it's just information. I don't think
I think the board approval down there, we don't need to work that. It's just information. Yeah. So,
Who else was that?
I'll do both.
I know, and we're not gonna like, what we
Don't
can
let me
figure,
down.
yeah.
I mean. I
Actually, we
plan to
will.
be there for both.
We will do that.
You'll help me there.
In between the ceremonies, we also have a reception for the honorees, so for outstanding alumni and the Honorary associate degree, I apologize, yes, those two.
You don't need to vote on
No.
it. Okay. Except prime studies.
You'll be excommunicated.
Yeah. Okay, item H, consideration of the 2023-24 tuition and fees.
That's myself. You know, last month we covered all the we covered all the class and program fees, basically. Trying to divide that up and give individuals more time to get enrollment set up and get it in earlier. So this month we have the general tuition and fees. We have room and board, and I think that is it. Oh, the laundry fee down here and meals. So tuition did not change. We did recommend going up $3 in the fee, the general fee. That $3 is mostly is technology fee. It's not a mostly, it is technology fee. We are going to have to make some upgrades to our current ERP system, the system that manages campus-wide student information, and you know, not only that, but also general ledger and budget and accounts payable. That whole system that we call POISE or Genzabar is needing to be updated. So we're kind of preparing for that as we go. So that is what that is about.
I just might add that we were notified by Genzabar that we had to upgrade because they are getting rid of POISE. We're actually one of only 6 schools left in the nation that uses POISE, so we don't have an option. We will stay with Genzabar probably and not go to a different company because the transition, as you can imagine, is pretty, yes, exactly. Even with this, and others can speak to it better than I can, but even with this, I mean, the expense is quite a bit. It is spread out, though. Hopefully the expense will be spread out over, we still don't know. We're hoping, hopefully 10 years. I don't know if they'll give us that long to spread it out or not. We're going to something called J1,
Yes.
J1, which is just, it really doesn't mean anything except that this whole system of student information, all our budgeting ledgers, everything is in this system, of course, and all the data that we've got. And J1, it's really more just interfaced and that kind of thing. It's a little bit frustrating because when you look into this, it's really the same. These are the same ERP systems that were built in the 1970s. It's just kind of the bells and whistles and the ability, of course, to support that. And so what we're really paying for, honestly, is a lot of support on these information systems, but there's obviously no way we can get by without it. And they said, okay, in a year, we're completely getting rid of POISE, so you have to do something. So that we didn't know that until what, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Like first, Luke hits me with the floor information, and then these guys hit me with that. Oh my goodness. So,
After that, as far as dorm, we did an in-depth review of all the expenses for dorms, meaning electricity, water, rental, dorm COP payment, that type of thing. So we did increase some of the dorms. We increased Greenfield Hall. Yeah, Blue Hall, we increased it to help cover for the cost of that. And then the apartments, we increased those to help cover for the cost of those. So you have a $60 increase on Blue Hall as far as a dorm, and then $200 on the apartments. And then, but there was an in-depth study of that, and really dug around in it, determined what we needed. if we had occupancy or projected occupancy to fill what we were using and doing and continuing to rent. The last item on there is meals. The meal cost is going up $25. It's basically an increase in food costs primarily. And you guys have all been to the grocery store, you know, it's terrible. And they kind of really worked at that, and we caught them up when the price CPI, the consumer price index, was down a little bit. That's one reason why I put off bringing this portion of the fees to you, is that Great Western Dining had told us if I would wait another month, they thought the consumer price index would go down, and then they would have a little less of an increase in rates, and so we waited on that piece. I'm willing to wait and bring it to you in 2 sections rather than 1. So that's primarily what that is what is made up of the increases there. Any questions?
Food always goes up.
It always goes up.
Any other questions? I think we're supposed to post it. Yes. Need a motion. So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Bartlesmeyer, Holt,
Yes.
Hewens, Elliott,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
We are in reports. Administrative update.
Thomas is first, I see.
Well, that's probably because I was on top of things in Cincinnati, right?
Yes, that's their birthday.
Oh, yeah. I don't have anything to add outside of what is listed on here. We've been busy in there, and there's a lot of information within the different departments, but the crew within student services works hard every day to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students, and with graduation coming up pretty quickly, we're recruiting and moving kids on, and it's been busy, but refreshing first few months. Stand for any questions you guys have any.
And get off that.
Hey, that's the way that I do it. Let me do that.
It's the only thing he's gonna get from Mr.
Yeah, I can go. I don't have a lot of updates over the last few weeks. We are revamping our placement policy to hopefully get more students into college level courses and out of developmental education. So part of that'll go to curriculum committee to discuss next week, but using GPA as the primary indicator for placement, we should have a significant improvement rather than the active placer test. So trying to reduce the number of students that go into developmental education. And, you know, we talk about why that's important with a student right now. If they come in at the lowest level of math, they would have to take elementary algebra 1 semester, intermediate algebra the next semester, and college algebra the semester after that. So they have 3 semesters to get, and where they have to pass math each time. And if a student struggles in one of those and has to use a semester to withdraw and then come back the next semester, now our on-time graduation rate is going down because they're not going to pass college algebra. So it's just one of the things that we're doing is trying to revamp using the math pathways, which I talked about last month, but also redo our placement policy to try to get more students in college level courses and reduce the time to graduation and reduce the cost burden on the students as well. So that will go into effect in the spring or in the fall. Had a couple of different discussions with advising today as they're working through how to place those students based on that GPA from their high school transcript. But it's a much higher indicator of success in the college level courses. Some of you know is that high school GPA opposed to a one-time high stakes test. So we've revamped that and put a new focus on that one. Also, Chris Mingarelli and I last week went to Phoenix and to the League of Innovations Conference and presented on how we work with business and industry and within our career and tech ed programs, and kind of focused on secondary students to college level students, the business and industry, and how all those tie together in the state of Kansas. Next, at the end of this week, there's quite a few, 7 of us, I think, going to Chicago for the Higher Learning Commission, which is our conference, which is our accreditor. And so we're headed there this Friday. And those are the major updates I have right now. And I am the biggest failure of the group because I did not get my report in.
You get a demerit.
I just like to talk a lot, so I get to say more this way.
Sure. You can see a lot of what's been going on with the departments that I work with. IT has a good description of what's going on. Cover cams, storage devices, they're doing a lot of network share type things, and I'm keeping them busy. Setting up budget, a totally kind of different look this year that I think will help with users that are not used to an Excel spreadsheet. They'll be able to put it in a little easier. They have a lot of other issues that they're working on, some known issues, theater lighting and that type of thing that they're working on. And I know that Jared is also working on some of the theater lighting in there. That, you know, we replaced those lights, I think it's been about 5 years ago in the seating section. And it takes a huge lift that it's very, very hard to find because of the slope. You have to get a leveling type of a lift, not just normal scaffolding. And so he's done a lot of work towards that, far as Jared has, and getting that done and hopefully done before graduation and some of those other programs that come up. Because after 5 years, they're beginning to burn out and we're reaching to the point where about 30% to 50% is out. And so it's like, okay, we got to replace because we can't operate that way. They've done some maintenance, has done some concrete pad work for ADA compliance. You've also seen they've been helping with the duct work over in Arnold and changing some of the lighting in there. Financial aid in the business office, you know, parts of us, I was going to say the business office is a little quieter right now, but then there's also parts of it that it's not, like my section. You know, we've got a lot of surveys that Adam and I are working on and budget, so it kind of comes and goes and flows. But financial aid, you can see their progress there, and they've done a great job of following up with students and trying to get all their paperwork completed so that they're able to receive Pell and scholarships and that type of thing. So, any questions for me? Okay, other than I will say, I think Tom and I both forgot it. Jared told me today that Garrison, the restoration of those 4 apartments is going very well. And they should be done well before they are needed. So that project is going well.
Good. Good to hear.
Ready for me?
I think we're ready for you.
Okay, thank you. So, of course, it's been a busy week here or last week was here on campus, even with spring break. We did have several students that were still here, and so thank you to everybody that stayed and made sure that all of those kids were taken care of with food and all of the needs that they have. We have some exciting things going on. Some of you have had an opportunity, I know many of you have, to watch basketball. Our cheerleading squad who go to nationals in a couple of weeks. They are super fun to watch. We're excited about their opportunities down there. We also have Aggie Days coming up this Friday. When I visited with Sarah earlier today, we have more registered than we did last year, and we had over 1,000 last year students. So the fast food businesses will be very, very busy on Friday. She's expecting a lot. So, and the way it lined up, she's going to get a lot more Oklahoma students. It's kind of like if you hit another Aggie Day, so this one is very popular. We have many folks that do a wonderful job running that, and as you can imagine, it's a lot of organization and a whole lot of advanced work to make sure that that goes off smoothly. We did have of course the spring rodeo the weekend before spring break, and that too, you talk about a lot of work and brings in a lot of people, but great for our students, great for the community, and it's a lot of fun to watch that rodeo. Last Thursday, Mike Bean, who's with the Department of Commerce, was down, and Chris Mingarelli and I toured him through our Crawford Tech Ed Center and also Harley. He was very impressed. It's kind of interesting. Mike used to work here as, I'm not sure exactly what his title was, but he had to do with technology, director of technology. But he told the story of how Harley started, which Mike Mathis was down there, who's the director of Harley, as well as Santos Manrique, who of course is the dean of Crawford County, and how it happened. And these guys loved the story. Mike Bean was on an airplane, and he just happened to sit next to somebody that was the lead technician for Harley, and they got to talking on the plane, and one thing led to another. He said the next thing he knew, Frontenac, the city of Frontenac, built him a building. And so anyway, he said they started with 5 lifts. I know. Have you guys seen Harley? Have all of you guys seen? They started with 5 lifts. And so for Mike to go in there and see that, he said it was incredibly rewarding. We gave him a shirt that the students wear, and so he will be wearing that at the next TEA meeting. And so I got a nice note from him that said he really appreciated the business and industry contacts and initiative that we have for the students, and he was very pleased with the passion, of course, that our staff showed towards the program, towards the students. And so it was nice to hear from him, and I think he really enjoyed it. Just a quick note about budget. As probably you know, this is the last week of state budgetary things before it goes to the full House and Senate. We did ask for community colleges for some cybersecurity money. I think that in the governor's budget, we had asked for $500,000 for each of the 19 community colleges. That did remain in the budget, but it did get reduced to $100,000 per school. That $100,000 for cybersecurity, Adam wrote me a nice little thing that said we could probably use that towards this new ERP that we have, because we believe that, and Jason said too, that it will definitely help us with security, because we're upgrading from Poise to this J1. And so we're hopeful. I don't know whether it will end up staying in the budget, but they're working hard to, work the budget this week. And like I said, it will go to full House. A lot of the things that we had asked for got kicked to omnibus. And so we did, let's see, one of the things that did pass was they asked for a 3.25% budget reduction across the board, and higher education was not exempt from that. And so that we know that we will probably get at least that in terms of what has been asked for. So it's kind of yet to be determined in terms of what we're going to be looking at budgetarily as far as the state budget is concerned. So there's some other things happening with the state budget, as you well know, when it comes to higher education. There's a lot of talk about reimagining higher education, some things like that. I don't know exactly what that looks like, or to be frank, it's kind of scary, but I will be in Topeka on Wednesday and of course learn more about what's going on as as we take a look at those things and make sure that we're advocating, of course, for what we need to meet our mission and meet the needs of our students and community. As you look there, you can see that, of course, the track's doing well. We have great students, great faculty, and great staff who are doing a lot of amazing things, and that's what we focus on, is all those great things that have been going on due to the people that we have here. It really is a privilege to work with all of them and all of you. You can see some things coming up, summer classes, enrollment started today. We have the women's luncheon that's coming up. Like I said, summer classes are being enrolled in as we speak, as well, of course, as next fall. And we won't know, of course, until we get down the line a little bit in terms of, what we look like for enrollment. I feel like a lot of the things that we have been doing are good. They're sustainable things that hopefully will attract and retain our students. As you know, any student that we retain is like recruiting 2 students. And so we're very hopeful about that. Hopefully by the April meeting, cross our fingers like Luke did, we will be able to tour you through the new remodel of the cafeteria. The completion date for that, the expected completion date is the end of March. And so we're hopeful. They are coming along pretty good. I did ask Mark, the superintendent. He just kind of gave me a look. I'm like, so you're on track? He's like, I don't know. Hopefully. Anyway, I would be happy to stand for questions.
You highlighted the rodeo, which there were so many people in town. It seemed like that weekend.
Well, they were all there at the rodeo, I saw.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to mention, I had some people comment on the need for more seating in your, so.
As a matter of
After
fact,
your floor's in,
didn't
you might
tell us
wanna-
they had to turn some people away.
Yeah, they haven't turned people out. On Saturday, there were about 70 standing in that corner.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's some room over in that corner to potentially put something. Because they have that platform that people were standing on. There's probably about 25 kids that were standing on it, which is probably not the smartest, healthiest thing, but we could probably do something in that corner.
Every time I see Gary Harvey, of course, who was the one that started rodeo and Lakeside Judging here, on the west side where it goes down and there's those pins in between there, he always wants to tear that off and extend that over to where we keep the horses at. So in the stables over there. So every time he sees me, he's like, are you gonna do that? Hey, we got the cover over where the pins are on the south side, so it does need expanded. What I told Luke is what I'd really like to do is turn the entire Arnold Arena into rodeo and build a new athletic gym. So Luke has his work cut out for him in terms of trying to get us some money to get that done.
Can you move the floor from the?
You mentioned that Harley program. I think Big Patches was president then. And
Like the second
Harley-
news president.
second
or the
time.
first.
right, the second time. And Harley, as well as the John Deere programs, they were originally supposed to be 2+2 programs.
Yeah, we still do have a 2+2 on them, but not very many people. do.
Right. That's originally what they were hoping to do that, is have
Yeah.
a really big 2+2 program. That's primarily why they were down in that area.
Mike, that's interesting that you bring that up. Mike did also tell me that we already had John Deere, and the Harley people really like the model of that John Deere program. And so that's one of the reasons that they decided to go ahead and do this here. We are still the only place in the entire world that has an exclusive Harley technician training program. Now, some others have Harley training, but they're not exclusive to Harley. So like MCI and those, that's what it's called, right? MMI, I knew that was wrong. MMI, they have Harley training, but they also do, like Honda or whatever. So it's kind of interesting. We're the only ones.
It's like the man that came down from Canada.
Canada.
Came
Carl.
down.
Yeah,
So, and we have all of our students, we added the internship component back to the Harley program this year, and all of our students are placed into internships for this coming summer.
and Mike was really excited about that.
Fantastic.
That's cool.
Okay, we don't have an executive session. Do we? No. Well, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. We are at the end of the agenda, so. If you'd like to adjourn. Motion would be. So moved.
Second.
Yes, so consider yourself. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
There's more pizza.